I know what it's like.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Out of Rap. Today I'm joined by Erica Farmer, who is the co-founder and director of Quantum Rise Training. Hi Erica, how you doing?
Hi Martin, good, thank you. Really good to be here. How are you?
Very good, thanks. We were both, just as I hit record, we were both just talking about dogs, weren't we? Dealing with puppies and animals during the pandemic and all of that kind of stuff. But
snoring.
Yes, he was snoring previously. I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's start then really with how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, which always sounds like a massive question.
It's huge. Let's start with the
I woke up, I got
ridiculous
out of bed.
one.
Yeah. Okay, so very lucky to be co-founder of Quantum Rise, and where that's come from is 20 years corporate learning and development experience. So I've been really lucky. I've lived in the West Country most of my life, but able to work in L&D functions, learning and development functions for some big brands, such as British Gas, LV, Specsavers, Virgin, climbing that kind of greasy corporate pole, as it were. And actually, you know, as much as I joke about kind of corporate and some of my experiences, I've learned a huge amount. And, you know, it's one of those things where I wouldn't be able to probably have the success that we have with Quantum Rise without an amazing network of most of the people that I've met during my time in those roles, really. So probably, I think it's about maybe 2 years ago, decided to take that jump off the cliff and set up my own business. I actually set up Welcome to Learning when I was at Specsavers, and Welcome to Learning was focusing on 2-minute learning content, so videos and virtual classrooms, very short, light bite type stuff. And was very lucky that a lot of my friends and network at the time bought from me at that point. And then the pandemic hit, and then it all went a bit crazy into virtual classrooms, webinars, etc. And that's how Quantum Rise was born. So this is our first year. So February is our first birthday, which is really exciting, actually.
Wow, happy birthday.
I know, right? Where's that gone? But I'm now in business with my business partner, Hayley Bird. So I look after kind of the business development, business, finance side of the business, PR marketing, and Hayley looks after our design and delivery of our digital and interactive online learning. And we have about 14 delivery partners, associates, I guess, other organizations would know them as, who work with our amazing set of clients that we work with. And Hayley looks after the team and designs all our training and all of that great stuff. So it's pretty awesome, really. And we're very, very lucky.
Sounds it, and your passion is palpable. What the so 2 years ago, I know time's a bit kind of fluid. It's certainly remembering it is fluid in this period of the pandemic. But 2 years ago would have been we were at the start of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, so I remember meeting Hayley. We both decided at the same time to go self-employed, and I met her at Costa Coffee in Clumpton about 2 weeks before the first lockdown. And we were talking about whether virtual learning would ever be successful. The irony.
Yeah.
And Hayley and I were talking about this morning, actually. I've always been someone that you'd say, like a cat, I always fall on my feet, you know.
Yeah.
And you can say, is that luck and fate, or is that decision making and talent and expertise and all the stuff you bring to that? It's probably a bit of a mix of both, actually. But so yeah, we've maximized the opportunity we've had in the pandemic. You could say right time, right place. However, I think what we've learned over all of those years in corporate, Hayley's a teacher by trade and also spent time in corporate, we've been able to bring something to the market that was standout quality, which, you know, attracted a lot of people who had the needs for our services. So from that perspective, you know, it's been awesome. It's been great, really.
Take you right back then. I'm just really curious around the kind of, there's a fuel, right? There's a passion that kind of puts you in an area of our world, and you've stayed in that. What was it about L&D, or what is it about L&D, and when can you remember that being first sort of ignited?
So it probably goes back to, it sounds cliche, but remember that teacher at school that you really kind of remember and was inspired by? Mrs. Harris was my PE teacher. I went to the local grammar school, Colleton Grammar, and she was amazing. I always had an affinity for sport, particularly contact and team sports. And just kind of knew early on I wanted to be a PE teacher. So studied my A-levels, went to university, got my degree in sport and exercise science. And then I needed to do like another 1 to 2 years on my PGCE to become an official teacher, then a newly qualified teacher. At that point, I realized every school that I was probably going to go to wouldn't have been as well behaved as Colleton Grammar School in East Devon. And actually the job was probably going to be a lot tougher than the experience that I had growing up. But what I did do after traveling the world and coming back is I fell into, so this is after I graduated, I fell into my first proper job, call it that, because I'd done telesales work and things like that before, which was recruitment. So fell into that and quickly became the person who trained other people to do sales calls or did the inductions or trained the new managers. And I was unbelievably lucky to have a chap called Shane Rice from Torrington in Devon. He was our area manager, regional manager at the time. And Shane was the person who went, and I tell this story in every interview I used to have, there's something about what you do that we need to make a role for. So he created this operational trainer role for me based on spotting my potential and what I did. This role didn't exist. And I stepped into this role and really flourished and been in various learning and development roles since then. And I stay in it because I think we make a massive impact to a lot of people and a lot of businesses, which is brilliant. What we do is fun, which is certainly one of the most important things for me. And you can really meet some fantastic, amazing, collaborative people. And I'm sure all of those things apply to other sectors and other roles. But for me, it's where we're good, it's what we do, it's what I love and enjoy and understand and can bring value to and have purpose with. And I think all of those things are really important in life. So
love that. And thank you, Shane. Well done, Shane.
I know, right? To this day, I'll always call him out.
Yeah, well done. Happy days. It's funny because in my mind, the way I often think about, so different people coming on and talking from different disciplines within the contact center, right? For you talking about that, working with not necessarily always like-minded, but I can remember one particular contact center I worked in, 2 buildings. Us were on the phones, and then you walk across the car park, and there was all the other support functions, payroll, HR, IT. I would bounce into the L&D room because I knew the people in there. It would be a lovely part of my day, even if it was just 5 minutes. It was the one room that had books in it that I liked. You could go and chat to people about, right, I've been thinking, often most conversations started like that. You'd be like, right, my team, but you'd have people that go, there'd be rather than what.
I'm not surprised to hear. It's almost like L&D people want to absorb it. They want to know. They want to help, and when I was heading up training at LV in the contact centres, we would have people specifically come and ask if there was chairs and seats available in the L&D area, because they just wanted some energy and they wanted to be around different people and have a different vibe than sitting in other parts of the building for a very, very similar same kind of reason that you're talking about. So it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fascinating. What so you've started the business, it's doing really, really well, but you've kind of it's birth, and now where you are, it's all been through the pandemic. What kind of key takeaways do you have from that experience?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I talk a lot, and whether this is about the time in my life, so I'm 41 now, so as soon as I got to my 40s and I started to have this kind of, not a revelation, but certainly this sense of more about who I was and what was important to me. And I think that's what's played through in Quantum Rise, certainly for Hayley. Hayley's a bit younger than me. She's 36, I think. And she's starting to come into that space. She's got a young family, but very much as dedicated to this as I am. So I think where I'm going with this is really being able to follow your heart and be authentic to what it is that you want to do. And that plays out with things like working with clients that we want to work with. We've got like a grid that we plot prospects on. It's to do with innovation and collaboration. And that's not saying we won't work with clients that don't fit in that top right-hand corner. Of course we will, but that's like our ideal client, and we're both very clear on that because it maps to us as individuals and people, and also the brand of the business and what we do. So that clarity, I think, has really supported us with Quantum Rise, and being fortunate enough to have amazing repeat business and real clients that don't treat us as order takers, but really real strategic business partners. Fujitsu is an amazing partner of ours, and they would class us as a partner, not as a supplier. It's those kind of things that make the difference. And we've learned a huge amount over the last kind of couple of years, particularly the last year. We've put a lot of money into working with suppliers and partners that we've brought on that hasn't worked, because we've had an expectation that those partners would treat us how we treat our clients, and that's been a learn, because that's not always the case, right?
Yeah.
That's been a big expensive learn for us. But every day is a school day, right? And then, again, that's cheesy, but it's true.
No, I 100% agree. That kind of I'm like you, a great lover of sport, and coach the girls team and try and talk to them about you win or you learn. It's about if you can't, you've got to enjoy the progression and the actual process of, or the time of the game. Yes, we want to win and all of that kind of stuff, but it's about winning and learning. And actually, it's again another cliche, you learn more when you fail.
Oh, 100%. I can look back at my worst conversations in corporate when I really screwed something up, or I really thought I was going to get this in my performance appraisal and I didn't, or I really struggled like working for a certain individual. And I think at the time it just felt so painful and so hard and so difficult. But I look back on that experience and probably accelerated things like my self-awareness and my development, even though it was so icky at the time. It was horrible at the time. But you're absolutely right. It can't be plain sailing all of the time. You need, in business in particular, you need to have those highs and lows of that roller coaster. It can't just be great all the time.
Sorry, I lost audio again.
Oh dear. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
That's better.
You got me?
Yeah, I've gone fully old school. You were saying about the negative experiences, right?
Yep.
Does that fine tune? Is that the process of fine tuning your gut instinct? So now, later on, you're more likely to trust it and act on it. But maybe earlier on in your career you still felt that thing in your gut where you're like, no, I don't like how you're treating me right now, or something's off, but I'm going to put up with it because I'm junior, or I'm in a strained relationship and you're a director and I'm a team leader. Whereas now, play that out again and I'd be like, no thanks, this is normal, goodbye.
100%. And I think a lot of that is down to confidence. Confidence comes with that experience, isn't it? And then it's not going to be the end of the world if you do say no, or you do something different, or you're not going to get everything right, but it's how you do things differently going forwards. And we're probably, I would let things roll out probably longer than what I would do now, because I've now got the confidence to say, to your point around gut feeling, it doesn't feel right. And actually, last year at Quantum Rise, we actually walked away from 2 fairly significant prospects that would have been big contracts for us, because it didn't feel right. It would have been stressful. The relationship would have been hard work. It would have felt like we were going back to be employed by that company, and that's not the reason why we do what we do.
Yeah.
So I think it's going back to age, confidence, experience, just I feel more wise is probably the word, compared to, you're right, the 25-year-old team leader that wanted to please and climb the greasy pole and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Now, before we hit record, it's obvious, and as I've mentioned the word passion a few times, but there are things you're passionate about, and soapbox was mentioned to drag it out. So this could be like Speaker's Corner in London.
Love it.
What are we all gathered around to listen to? What's the
or not, in the case, maybe you might just be me on my own, who knows?
Well, that's the whole beauty of Speaker's Corner. You can just wander off.
Yeah. I get particularly...
That's a good name for a podcast.
What, Speaker's Corner?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Look out for that. Martin and Erica. Erica and Martin. Yeah.
Quick, write it down before we forget. Yeah, I think going back to the business space, particularly in kind of online and where business has gone and what we've learned over the last 2 years, like you said, time feels a bit stretchy, doesn't it, at the moment? I think we all lost a year last year, didn't we, for some bizarre reason. I think what presses my buttons at the moment is seeing so much innovation and hard work and thinking and buy-in and development around things like what great blended online learning looks like, what good educational technology looks like, and not just the purest tech or the L&D piece, but the opportunity that brings to people. Whether that's back in my face-to-face delivery days, there was always people who had to leave to do the school run at 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and they felt bad for leaving, but really the onus is on us to provide an opportunity that shouldn't be one or the other. So just the bite-sized learning, providing accessibility, creating impact. We know that getting a bit of theory and doing something with it is going to help you move it from the short-term memory to the working memory to the long-term memory. We know that the brain can learn in a certain way when you're designing and delivering online, and all of this can be accessible from anywhere on the globe. You're not flying around and training it to London and all these carbon emissions and affecting, against the kind of sustainability agenda. We're not paying for like crappy sandwiches and lunches in horrible training rooms that have got no natural light. It gets rid of all of that rubbish that L&D has moaned about for so many years. But what we're seeing now, unfortunately, we're seeing a parting of the waves. We're seeing those people who truly believe in digital and the potential of it, like what we do at Quantum Rise, and the difference it can make, and our clients will show you the difference it can make, and those people who are kind of going back to the comfort zone and going back to the driving to London or flying to this, and I'm not saying there's not a place for in-person, face-to-face, of course there is, but it's around having that decision-making matrix around what you can do virtually and what perhaps you need that more human-centered connection within a group of people thrashing out a project in a room or whatever it might be. But I see a lot of L&D people now just kind of reverting back to type, pinging back, I call it. And my kind of mantra is don't ping back, because there's such an opportunity here for us to continue to grow and do something different and provide those opportunities and that accessibility. And even from a neurologically diverse perspective, there's now technology you can put into Zoom and Teams to make that easier to consume for people. But for some reason, we're going back to chalk and talk and flip charts and all that kind of stuff, which is 20 years ago, And I don't understand why. Is it comfort zone? Is it? I don't know. Be interested in your thoughts.
One of the things that I was thinking then, and I completely agree with you, is the pinging back takes you back to a place where, and I think if you are honest with participants, it's like the participants aren't being considered.
Absolutely.
When you ping back, because training or L&D shouldn't be, so if there's the knowledge part, right, where you know that you're going to gain knowledge, learn something that, and most people I think will go, yeah, brilliant, I love that bit.
Yeah.
But that is wrapped up in a lot of grief.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pain to get there. Like you say, you've got that awkward bit before. You're having no one has ever come back and gone, I loved all the travel. I loved being in you know, the hotel reception area. The coffee was brilliant.
Yeah.
The training was all right as well. And then I had to come back and I missed the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, you know, log in, you know, and I think it makes us more. It certainly makes me more present.
Yep.
So I'm present because I know, and you know, that we've got this contract now that I think we've all signed, which is it's okay if the doorbell rings.
100%.
It's okay if you have to go and sort your dog out, or a child runs in. We've all now been exposed and tacitly, or in tacit, is it? No, it's not tacit. We've just signed and said, yeah, that's cool. There's no one that's getting bent out of shape about that. And that kind of respect for each other's lives and the you know, and the flexibility. Why would you want to revert back to how it was previously? Now, like you, for some it'll work for specific reasons, and there's a flexible approach, I guess, that's going to work. But if you ask me now what my preference would be, 100%. And I think it's necessity is the mother of invention, right? So all of a sudden people had to think like we I'll give you an example. Our IT director is very proud of this. Those kind of IT training things can be very dry for someone like me. I'm not for everyone, but for someone like me, we learned through watching you know, at our screens and whenever we wanted on our tablets or whatever. Like it was a dramatized show. I can remember the name. It's called The Inside Man. And it was about data protection fundamentally, but it was just it's different. I really enjoyed it. And I think that kind of, you go, right, how do we do this? How can we be creative? How can we, like you say, we know far more neurologically now than we ever have done. Why regress? You know, why not say, right, we've got all this new learning, we can go back to buildings now, but what is the best way for the participant? Not just about them taking on new knowledge and being able to use it and it becomes functional, but also where this training fits in their life today.
Yes.
You know, and I think it shouldn't be something that makes people go, right, I've got to arrange childcare. How do I get there?
Exactly.
What if my car breaks down? You know, just anxious.
Where do I park? How do I get there? You know, if I've got dietary conditions, will that be catered for? It just keeps going on and on, doesn't it? And
do I have to wear trousers?
Yeah, well, you know, each to their own.
Yeah, you know, I'm loving this top half world.
But I think you're absolutely right, and I think part of it is comfort zone, skill. What I've always done has worked, and now it's not seeming to be working anymore, and that pushes me out of my space. I think some of it is, and you know, people have really tried to make this work, where I've taken my in-person, face-to-face content, put it onto Zoom or Teams, hoped it would work, and it won't because it's different methodology. And then some people have really got it and said, you know what, this is brilliant for all of the reasons we've just talked about there. And that's the split that we're seeing right now. And the innovative organizations, going back to the clients that we like to work with and the prospects that they get it. You don't have to influence or persuade around the benefit of online. And, you know, it is a different skill set. It takes personality, it takes presentation, it takes engagement, interaction, and the use of tech. I call it double brain thinking. You're managing Zoom and Poll Everywhere and Jamboard and Miro at the same time as you're delivering the training and facilitating and questioning. And normally I just do one of those, and it's normally the facilitating and questioning piece. I don't have to think about the text, but it is an ask to do it well. It is very different. But it's a discipline like other HR disciplines and other L&D disciplines. We don't all have to be the same. It would be boring if we were. I just wish that the mindset for some would, based on what we now know, the benefits, the sustainability impacts. We all rocked up and watched COP26 for a week, and then we said, that's brilliant, yes, we need to do that, and then we all pinged back again. And I know I'm talking absolutes here, I'm kind of deliberately being a bit provocative, but it's just that, come on, we can do better. We can do better for people. We shouldn't be this human battery that goes to work and the battery's drained at 5 o'clock because work has taken all that energy out of us. And then we get home to our kids, or we step away from the office or the machine or whatever, and we're with our kids and our family, and we've got that empty battery. That's not how it should be the other way around. Work should, increase the battery, so then when we have time with our friends and our family and our kids, we have a full battery and we can give them everything that we are. So I think our thinking around not just L&D but the workspace, the work environment in general, we need to harness some of this stuff now, what we've learned, not just ping back all the time.
It's interesting, isn't it? I find myself asking why a lot more. So people that have said, can we meet, and now it becomes like a specific thing where they say, can we meet in person?
Yeah.
And that's absolutely cool. You wouldn't have thought twice that was not, it would have been abnormal to say, well, should we just do a Zoom 3 years ago, let's say. But now you just think, wonder what it is that people need to do the face-to-face element for, especially if they're do you find that in L&D though, that there's some people that don't want to do the whole transaction or the whole process digitally, that there has to be some face-to-face?
I think it depends on the type of person or type of organization you're talking to. So Hayley and I, although we live 12 miles away from each other, barely see each other in person because we don't feel like we need to. Because we get what we need from each other as business partners through Zoom or Teams, or normally FaceTime. We might go for an odd, working lunch, as it were. But, whereas working with other clients, I know that, the feedback they've had, whether this is a mindset thing or I don't know, the decision-making matrix that they've put to come together will have specific tasks, maybe coaching, one-to-one coaching, or maybe an ideas session in a project, where they do want people together to have that. And I'd quite happily do this stuff on Zoom, on Teams all day long, but not have to travel to Manchester or London or whatever. But I guess it's horses for courses. It's the personality, it's the confidence, it's all the other stuff we've talked about, and comfort zones and all that. I don't know. You're probably talking to someone who's so far up the other end of the scale that I could live virtually and digitally and get to the point of probably, remember that movie Lawnmower Man, when he's actually integrated into the computer. I'll be like that in 10 years time. But I laugh. The metaverse is coming. We've already got Oculus and VR and all of that stuff is now starting to come in to employers and providers in L&D because it's more accessible from a commercial perspective. Whereas when I was running apprenticeships at British Gas 8 years ago, we talked about training engineer apprentices with virtual reality and blowing up a customer's boiler without actually blowing it up, but we just couldn't afford the tech at the time. So I think that has changed hugely as well. So we are going to be all these avatars in this kind of virtual weird space like meeting space at some point, aren't we? So
well, I think if somebody had said to me as a team leader, or when I manage team leaders, let's give people a very real experience of delivering coaching and how that interaction is going to go, and it's delivered through VR using AI, and it's constantly learning and getting better and giving you different scenarios, I'd have bitten your hand off, because that kind of, I think that takes away, especially as new generations come in, I think it takes away that whole, oh no, we've got to do a role play. Just here you go, you're used to this from a just society, gaming or whatever, we're now going to put you in it, we're going to put you in situations and help you learn by exposing you to them through technology. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And back to your point a bit earlier, it's around on-time content and in-demand content. So what happens when you get something lands, you get your new phone land, or something, you buy a product, you don't go to a classroom session for 2 days and get taught how to use an iPhone or how to use a new TV or whatever it is. You either Google it and watch someone on a video saying this is the buttons that you press, or you play around with it yourself until you fix it. I tend to do that rather than, and then I'll go back to the YouTube video. And Gen Z, it's all about, when I want the content, when I need the knowledge, don't put me in a big programmatic response of 12 weeks of induction in the contact center and fill me full of stuff that I don't need now. I will tell you what I need and when I need it. And that's the flip. That's the real flip that needs to make, is we push the control out to the people that need it, rather than holding it in an ivory tower and using big budgets and large headcount. That's long gone in L&D. That stuff has, because
I guess that. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, you think about the amputation of L&D functions at the beginning of the pandemic. Particular, I know there was a lot of big organizations that it wasn't just cutting fat, it was cutting an arm off, because we didn't know where the future was going to be. And actually, a lot of them haven't replaced because they recognize there's a different way to do it.
And that kind of desire for how best to get, you take that kind of induction, and I guess some people's reticence, would you have seen, is about lack of control or control moving.
Potentially it goes back to, this is how we've always done it, which is the same for no matter what job role you're in. I think inherently as people, we have that safe zone, don't we? And you get some people who like to step outside the safe zone and some people who don't like to step outside the safe zone. And I remember at LV, we had a very protracted induction for people who were underwriting pensions and life insurance. They needed to know a lot of technical information. It wasn't just, and I'm not kind of disrespecting anybody who's picking up phone speaking to customers. They were doing that, and they were talking about the details of the life insurance policy. And I remember the ops manager said to me, Erica, I just need these people released earlier. We just need them being productive. We need it higher. And I said, okay, if you give me an extra trainer, I'll cut your induction by 50%. She said, you'll never do it. I said, watch me. And we did it, because it was a half of the battle was mindset. So.
Well, anyone knows about, if you could reduce speed to competency by 50%, what do you need?
Happy days. Yeah, exactly. Happy days. Just show, and sometimes it takes that, and I don't know if bravery or courage is the right word, but that challenge, that kind of ballsiness, that confidence to say, let's just try it. Let's do something different. Let's do it in a different way. And if we fail and we don't get a response that we're looking for, then to your point earlier, we've learned something.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because the world of the contact center very much previously was, and still now in a lot of areas, is command and control. And yet someone asked me the other day, what are you going to put together, like themes of what people have said as guests on here? And one of the themes is people have made quantum leaps, big changes, big innovation, when they have come away from command and control, either through they've been forced into it, something's happened, or they've actually been a bit rebellious and born out of frustration. Maybe they've just done something different and broken free of that. And this is what you're talking about. This is kind of being a period of disruption.
Yeah,
you've embraced it. You're doing really well. The participants and learners are doing really well. Why would you want to go backwards?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you? But that's easy for me to say when I can pay my bills and I've got a good income and I've got a great business partner, I've got great clients. I'm lucky that at the moment my business is a success, but there's no guarantee of next year or the year afterwards. Things might change. The Chancellor might change to increase my corporation tax again, or my dividends tax, or whatever they're going to go after. So I can sit from a luxurious position and rain down judgment on all of this.
You there.
Yeah, but who knows what the future holds.
Well, let's I think we've only covered one of your soapbox items, so let's make this part 1 of 2.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks very much for coming on. Let's do another one next week.
Yep.
And we'll hear the next soapbox topic Yeah.
There's always going to be a soapbox somewhere, Martin. You don't need to ask me twice.
No, but thanks very much. It's been brilliant. And
Excellent.
yeah, everyone hang fire. We'll do part 2 soon.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.